Whether you're outside grilling, changing diapers, or just trying to catch a breath, the Young Dad Podcast is your spot for real conversations about fatherhood, manhood, and everything in between. I'm your host, Jay, and I sit down with dads, experts, and everyday men to talk about the joys, the struggles, and the lessons that come with raising kids and building a meaningful life. From mental health and relationships to faith, family, and the funny stuff only dads understand, YDP is here to remind you that you're not doing this alone. So grab a juice box, grab a snack, kick back, and join the conversation because fatherhood doesn't come with a manual, but it should come with a podcast. And they call him the Love Doctor. He's helped people on every continent repair their relationships, rediscover their purpose, and heal from the pain that they don't talk about. But today, Anil isn't here to give generic advice. He's here to talk about what really breaks families: unworthiness, unforgiveness, and the quiet suffering that parents carry behind the smiles. This one's for the dads who want to love better, lead stronger, and forgive deeper, starting with themselves. So, like that intro said, whether you're outside grilling, mowing the lawn, changing diapers, or maybe you finally got a moment to sit down, relax, and listen to your favorite podcast, thanks for being here. And of course, thanks for tuning in. Like I just mentioned, today's guest is Anil, known worldwide as the Love Doctor. He's a relationship expert, international speaker, and coach who helps parents and families heal from emotional disconnection and rebuild love that lasts. He's guided thousands through crisis of marriage, loss, and self-worth, not by giving perfect answers, but by teaching the power of forgiveness, gratitude, and radical presence. From TEDx stages to family kitchens, Anil's message is simple but life-changing. When you fix the relationship with yourself, every other relationship begins to heal. So, like the intro says, again, grab your juice box, grab your snack, and let's jump into today's real and honest conversation. Anil, welcome to the pod.
Hey Jay, thank you for a great introduction. Happy to serve, and I promise the listeners you'll get great content today that is practical, powerful, and immediately usable with immediate results.
Perfect. I love it. That's a big promise, Anil, but well, I'm gonna hold you to that one. Let's see. So let's what I like to do on the show, Anil, is I like to go through the story, right? I like to go back through your story and then connect it to the present. And so before you became the Love Doctor, what were you doing? What was life like? What pain or challenge led you down this path?
It all started, I was an optometrist in London. I had my own practice, and when I was doing my exams, at the end of the exam, people would tell me their problems. I don't know why, but they did, and I would give them a solution. And they would come back saying, that was amazing, it changed their life. And I said, of course it did. You see, Jay, it was obvious to me, but it wasn't obvious to them. I thought everyone knew that. And I later realized that that was my gift. So I started just helping people, and it was a great experience. And then in 2008, after moving to the USA, I live in a town called Celebration, built by Disney near Disney World. I really was gambling on the stock market, and I lost everything. It was a Friday in November in Miami, and I went up to my wife and I said, honey, there's something really bad has happened. She looked up at me and, obviously very concerned. And she said, what's going on? I said, honey, I've lost the house, the car, all the student funds, everything. And Jay, she looked up at me and she smiled. And I thought, what's wrong with you? Did you not hear what I said? I was upset.
Yeah.
She said, no, I knew something was wrong because you've been behaving very strangely, which I was. I was drinking and doing stupid things. And she said, I thought you had cancer. I thought you were dying. I don't care about the money. What? And she said, yeah, I don't care. As long as we're with you, as long as we are with you, and we'll sleep in the streets if we have to. Jay, I was shocked. And then all of a sudden, this peace came over me. I realized that it's not the end. And then I thought she would beat me up. I thought I was useless. I wasn't worthy. I was a failure. Life would be better without me.
Yeah. And those are all like such common like things that we feel as men, right? When we're not able to provide, when we lose everything, when the money's not coming, kind of thing. Like those are like the first place that we go, like in our head, you know? Those are like the first place that, we want to go down. It's like we're worthless, we're not worth anything. Just leave me, you're better off without me, just go kind of thing. And I'm sure that was the reaction you were expecting in that moment to get from her is like, well, see ya. But no, that's amazing. So then what happened next? So you lose everything, wait, financial crisis. Now you're looking at rebuilding. What were you thinking? What were you thinking? Oh my gosh, what's next? Where do I go from here?
Well, then she asked me a great question. She said, what do you love to do? I said, I love to help people. Then she said, just go help people. I said, what about the money? She said, don't worry about the money. Just go help people. And then I met a friend of mine and he said, Anil, you've helped me, you've helped my wife. Why don't you do some events? And I sort of looked up at him and I said, well, he said, what do you mean, well? What's going on? I said, well, I'm scared. He said, what are you scared of? I said, Louis, if no one turns up, what if no one turns up? And he said, look, if no one turns up, no one will know. And I thought, okay, I can do that. I was so concerned what other people thought of me. Oh, Neil did an event, only 4 people turned up. He's a failure, he's useless, blah, blah, blah. But I did the event, then I did another one, and I was a little bit scared to do it. So I paid someone to help me run it. And then I paid him again to do another event. And then my wife said something to me. And I thought, maybe it's about time I started listening to her. She said, Anil, they're not here for your friend. They're here because of you. What do you mean? So, well, you're the one that they're listening to. You're the one that's doing the interventions. You're the one that's changing their lives. The other guy is just doing the structure. Anyone can do the structure, but I'm not a structure guy. So then I started doing events, 5 people, 8, 10, 20, 50, 100, 500, eventually 10,000 people.
Wow.
And I realized one thing. As soon as you serve, all the pain and suffering disappears. As long as you do it authentically, I'm serving you, giving you something, but I don't want anything back. So it's a pure gift. In that moment, you receive endorphins. The person receiving the gift, endorphins. The person observing the gift receives endorphins. The person sharing the giving receives endorphins. The person receiving the sharing receives endorphins. The person observing the sharing of the giving receives endorphins. So it goes a long way. And we never know what other people are going through. There's friends of mine who are battling cancer, divorces, but you would never know. So I have a golden rule. Be so amazing you cannot be ignored. Be the best version of you so that you show up at the best vibrational energy and you will change lives. And obviously the closest proximity is your family, your spouse and your kids.
Yeah. And that's where it's most important too, right? That's where, you got to make sure you're making the biggest impact because you got to start in your home and then build out from there, right? That's where it all
And
starts.
as you said at the beginning, it starts with you. You're the common denominator, and wherever you go, you go. So start on yourself first. Forgive yourself. Start being worthy. Let go of the past. Create a brand new future. Make better decisions. Ask better questions.
Yeah. So we're starting off here talking about a lot of, some common words that we're using over and over again right now. Talking about forgiveness, we're talking about unworthiness. Why are those such big barriers to oneself and having love for oneself and having, creating one of those two words, worthiness, for generating those feelings of worthiness, and yeah, that's the word I'm looking for, generating the feelings of worthiness towards oneself. Like, why are those two things? Why is forgiveness such a big part of all that?
So let's start with the worthiness. So when a baby's born, or even 8 months before a baby's born, it brings tremendous joy and love to the family. When the baby's born, even more love. And no matter what the baby does, it gets lots of love, kisses, edification, joyous experiences. Then there comes a time when the kid goes to school. And at school, he's got to perform. Then he'll come home and then the parents stop edifying him or the baby. No matter what he does, he gets chastised. Sometimes he'll get chastised. Then he thinks, hang on a minute, I used to just be loved. Now I've got to do something to be loved. So they make a choice. If I play up, I get attention. I'm going to play up so they get more attention. Or I could be studious or athletic or kind or generous or playful or fun. So they make a decision. So they tend to lose their sense of worthiness. It's attached to doing something or being something. So that's a big shock. They go to school, they're told to sit down and shut up. Their creativity is destroyed. And, they have to perform, get better grades, behave, expected to do things. So there's a big change in the dynamic. So whenever, when I was suicidal, I didn't feel worthy. So if any child doesn't feel worthy, they can go through a lot of pain and suffering. So the reason people commit suicide is because of sense of unworthiness. So if you can make someone feel worthy, that will help them in many ways because it's a common denominator. So for example, let's role play. So let me ask you a question. So if I'm holding $100 note here in front of me, okay, imagine that. And I say to you, how much is it worth?
$100.
$100. And if I say to the note, you're ugly, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're a failure, you'll never succeed, you're not liked, you're just not a non-entity, no one likes you. How much is it worth?
Still worth $100.
Yeah. So if I say to you, you're the highest denomination currency in the world, Jay, no matter what anyone says to you, you always retain your value. Because when someone says something to us, or a Facebook post or social media post, we react and we feel unworthy or not good enough. Now, what if I said to you this $100 note was worth millions of dollars? Would you believe me?
No. Well,
Okay, I'll explain to you.
maybe I might, because I know that there's some currency, like if it's an older $100 bill, could be more rare, kind of thing.
Any $100 bill is worth millions.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can go to Walmart with that $100 bill and buy $100 worth of goods. That same $100 can buy another $100 worth of goods somewhere else. And again and again and again and again and again. So wherever it goes, it brings immense value. And it's the same with you, Jay. Wherever you go, you bring value. Please never ever forget that. That's what people need to know.
Yeah. No, I agree with that, because I mean, it's true. The dollar doesn't lose its value just because you crumple it up, or, even if it rips in half, you can still go to the bank and get it replaced, and it's the same. It's worth the same amount. They don't give you less. They don't give you a 50 back when you turn in a ripped $100 bill. They give you $100 back. Um, and so it's true. So forgiveness, we kind of talk about forgiveness a little bit. Why is forgiveness so important in all this? What role
Okay.
does forgiveness play?
So forgiveness is the express pathway to freedom. The quality of your life is dependent upon the depth and authenticity of the forgiveness you extend to yourself and to others. You see, when you don't forgive, it eats up inside of you. Someone does something to you, but you're holding that resentment. You're imbibing that poison. See, the most expensive real estate in the world, do you know where it is, Jay?
Your brain, your
Your
mind.
brain, in between your ears. But we rent that space out to other people who've done something to us, who've hurt us, harmed us, or we think that they have. You would never have a property and rent it out rent free to someone you disliked or couldn't get on with. But that's what we do in our brains. So by forgiving, you're not letting the other person win, you win. Because you're going to be healthier, stronger, fitter, smarter, and you're not going to hold on to that resentment. So by you letting go, you win. You don't have to let the other person know. You don't have to have a conversation with them. All you have to do is release it in between your ears. Once you release it, I did an exercise with a client the other day, and she said, Anil, that's like 50 pounds of weight lifted off my shoulder. It's huge.
Yeah. No, it can be. One thing that I've done with clients in the past too, during my day job, is in this same example, is to release it, is having them simply take a piece of paper, write down whatever they feel is bothering them. They write it down, and then they take that piece of paper, they crumple it up, and they throw it in the trash, or they grab a trash can and they rip it up into the trash can, and it's fully gone after that, kind of thing. It's one of my favorite exercises to do with someone that's just kind of stuck on the same thing, and being able to let it go, I think, is so important. Because, like you're saying, right, it is the express road to freedom. It is the way that we can feel lighter and truly move forward. Because there's more important things that we need to have in our mind, right? There's there's way more valuable things that we can be thinking about. There's way more valuable things that we can be spending our time having bouncing around in our head. Maybe not to everybody, but they're valuable to you, and they're things that you like to talk about or think about. When it's just convoluted with, anger or hate or frustration or um, perceived wrongdoings, that doesn't do you any good. Doesn't do you any good at all.
But it actually hurts you a lot. I think a lot of disease is caused by unforgiveness. And I have a very similar exercise to you. So what I ask people to do is write down the person's name, what they did to you, how it's hurting you, what it's costing you financially, emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally, and what would happen if you let it go, and what's the benefits, and then put it in a fire. Burn it. It's very symbolic. Because I'm burning this, I'm destroying it forever, it can never come back. And people don't realize how powerful this is. It will add more years to your life or more life to your years. It'll give you energy, vitality, improve your health, give you a new vibrational frequency that will allow other people to come into your life.
Yeah, 100%. And I love what you said, more life to your years. I think that's the more important part too, right? Like, it's gonna give you more life. It's gonna give you more joy in your day to day, because you're not holding on to something that's essentially weighing you down so much. Because if you're holding on to those things, especially if you're a parent, that's when you're going to be wounding others around you, right? That's when you're going to be giving wounds to your children. With that, what other ways are like parents like giving wounds to their kids and essentially hurting their kids without really maybe even realizing it?
That's a really great question. Sometimes I hear parents say to their kids in one sentence, "Don't do that. You might get hurt. It's too dangerous. Oh my God, don't be careful, be careful, be careful." And then the child is thinking, "Oh, I have to be careful. I have to be careful. I'm going to get hurt. I better not do that." Instead, what we should do as parents is this. The greatest gift you can give your kids is this. Give them the ability to handle life by throwing adversity at them that they can reasonably handle. We don't do that as parents, and a lot of parents have enabled and entitled kids. And this is what happens, Jay. I've been through adversity, and I know that you've been through adversity. So we make a decision. I don't want my kids to go through what I went through. So we make life easy for them, but we're not. They need to go through adversity. They need to have to be able to handle life. So when my kids were very young, maybe 7 and 5, no, probably 8 and 6, Richard Branson he was put into a field and told to get home. I wanted to do that with my kids, but my wife said, "No, are you crazy?" And I thought, well, yeah, okay, I am. But then what we did, we taught them how to use the underground in London. Then we took them to a station and told them to get home by themselves. We were 15 feet behind them, but they could only call us in an emergency. We taught them always to be near the guard, near the main entrance, stick together. So we taught them rules so that they knew exactly what to do. If they had a problem, they knew what to do. Because that's what we have to do. We have to teach our kids how to handle difficulties. So when my daughter was 18, she went around the world by herself because she knew what to do. It was a bit scary because do you remember Liam Neeson just released a movie called Taken?
Oh, yeah.
It was just 3 weeks after that was released, and my wife was going crazy. But it was so scary. But, we said it's the right thing to do, and she was prepared.
Yeah. And I absolutely love that because it's so important. And you as a parent, you can control that adversity that they're going through, right? You can set them up into these controlled environments, these control situations. You can set up a situation to where it is going to create some adversity, maybe a little bit of stress, maybe something difficult to do. But those things are good for kids. I mean, you have to think like you learned maybe the harder way on some things. But at the same time, like your kids still have to learn these lessons. They still have to go through it. They still have to experience these things. Because if they never experience it, then what good does that do? Right? That doesn't help them. It doesn't help you as a parent. Uh, and it honestly causes just more difficulties later on if they're not learning how to do hard things or if they're not given space to you know, maybe get hurt. They get hurt, oh well. Like, it's okay if they get hurt. It's okay if they fall. It's okay if they get a bump or a bruise or maybe a broken arm along the way, right? Those things are okay. They're gonna heal. They're gonna get better. It's just gonna suck for a couple weeks, a few weeks, right? For kids, like a broken arm heals in like a week, I swear. But they have a cast on, and they think casts are the coolest things. They go to school. They get other friends to sign it, right? Like they
Look at
think they
this.
it's not as cool as when we're adults.
I've got a cast on right now. I fractured my wrist. Yeah, my son broke his arm. But the thing is this, we think our kids can't handle it, but they're
Yeah.
much stronger than you think they are
Yes.
because
Yeah.
they see things as they are. They don't catastrophize. They're going to get healed. They're going to get better. They're going to learn. And if they're going to, they scrape their feet, they scrape their legs, they scrape their arms, it's okay.
Yeah.
You
That's
can't
what.
be overprotective.
Yeah. That's the thing I'm always, because I have my daughters, and one thing that I see, I'm just like, just let them, run, just let them almost get hurt. Just, we're right here, where they're in a safe area. Like we're good. Like they can kind of push the limits a little bit, right? If they do something dumb, they get hurt, then oh well, I'm right here kind of thing. 8% of the time, they're fine. Nothing happens. And no reason to be worried about the beginning. Because like you just said, like we as adults, we catastrophize it because we could see worst case scenario, but kids, all they see is a slide and some monkey bars and a playground and other kids, and that's all they see, right? They don't see all the worst case scenarios because they're not aware of that. They don't have to be aware of that. That's childhood wonder, right? That's the beautiful thing with it.
It is. And, as parents, we often think, I don't want to be a bad parent. I want to do the right thing. I want to be protective. And we just have to let them experiment. And, we have to teach kids cause and effect. You haven't brushed your teeth for a week. What's the effect of that? You haven't washed. What's the effect of that? But let them get the association instead of telling them, well, you've got to do this, you've got to do this, you've got to do this. Let them make that decision. So a lot of parents trying to motivate their kids, it doesn't work because that's only temporary. What you have to do, inspire them to study, inspire them to do good stuff, inspire them to give, inspire them to grow, inspire them to be grateful. Not tell them everything, but let it come from within, and then they get to keep that for the rest of their lives.
Yeah. It's the difference between intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation, right? Because it's important because kids have to learn like why something's important to them. You could tell them over and over again, and you're just going to be beating a dead horse. But until they put it together for themselves, they're not going to care. It's just like you as an adult. If I tell you, Anil, that, baseball's the best sport in the whole wide world, and I just keep telling you that over and over and over again, it doesn't really mean anything to you. But versus if you go and experience a baseball game and you have a great experience and you have fun and you start to learn about it and things like that, and it starts to become the greatest sport in the whole wide world to you, then great. You found that on your own though. I can't force that on you. Just like we can force some things on our kids, we can help them understand some things, but at the same time, like they have to find motivation for themselves and understand these things at their level and connect them to why it's important kind of thing.
Yeah, it's so true. You know, as you said, the experience matters. I remember we were in central London and we had blankets to give to people and food. And it was a cold day. It was in London. It was cold, and we had two blankets left, and we couldn't not give them away. So we were trying to find some people to give it to, and we found someone, and we said, "Sir, here's two blankets for you." And he said, "I only need one, but take two." He said, "No," and we were a bit surprised. Then I thought, he's right. He could take two, but he only needed one. I said to the kids who were with me, the teaching lesson here is this: there's a difference between need and want. He only needs one.
Yeah,
And it was a
no,
big teaching lesson. And we say, look, he did the right thing. He could take two, but he's depriving someone else of getting one. He knows that someone else needs it. But if I told them that, they would never experience it. They have to experience a cold, then they experience what it's like sleeping outside.
mhm.
I did that once. I never slept outside, but I slept outside my dorm once just to experience it. It's not fun. It's not fun at all.
No, no, I enjoy camping, and my family, we enjoy camping as well. So sleeping outside is not the worst thing, but truly sleeping outside in the elements is something completely different than camping and things like that. But let's see. So was so as you're doing all your kind of back to your story here. So as you're doing all these events and they're growing and whatnot, what are you learning along the way? Are there things that you're seeing? Are there things that you're doing that are just that you're talking about but not doing? Were there any of those things that you're like, I need to be applying this? I'm talking about it, but I'm not applying it. Were there any of those along the way?
Yeah. So when you start teaching, you've got to be integrous. You've got to walk the talk. So, for example, I had a client the other day, and I was telling him to get up earlier. Then I said to myself, well, if I'm telling him, could I get up earlier? So I did. I would get up. This was before my accident, quarter to 5 a.m. Because I said, well, if I'm telling you to do it, you should do it. And it's the same thing with Gandhi. He was asked to tell a child to stop eating sugar, and he said no. Come back in a month. So the mother came back in a month. She was very upset. Why didn't you tell him to stop sugar? I said, I'll tell him now. I said, why didn't you tell him a month ago? And he said, ma'am, how could I tell him to stop eating sugar when I was eating sugar? I had to stop first. So, that's where being the change, we have to be role models. I could tell my son, hey, son, do this. But if I'm not doing it, so for example, if my dad ever walks into my room or if a room I'm sitting in, I always stand up, always. That's out of respect for him. He gave me life. I would have nothing without him. But we have to honor that. But if I told my son, hey, stand up when your granddad comes in, no. But if he sees me doing it, he's more likely to do it. I'm not going to force him to do it, but he will see it and observe it, and it'll go in his psyche somewhere. Kids learn very quickly and they absorb a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're gonna pick up on the things that you do, especially. They're gonna monkey see, monkey do. And if they see you doing it over and over again, they're gonna be like, okay, well, if dad's doing it, I should probably do it. Maybe, I guess, I don't know, kind of thing. And I think it's really important to teach our kids those things that are like really important, um, to us and to lead by that example, right? One thing for me, kind of an example on top of your example, is when I see like servicemen or women or first responders, right? I try to make it a point to go and say thank you for your service or wave or say hi or something, and just be like kind to them in some way. And so then when I'm with my daughters, they do the same thing, right? So they see those people and there's a respect for the military, there's a respect for first responders, there's a respect for police, firefighters, EMTs, and they're more excited to see them. They don't fear them, they don't think they're bad, right? They have good experiences with them because they're kind to them and they're kind back. And they're like, oh, they're not scary. They're not intimidating. They're not here to hurt me. They're friendly. And if I need their help, I can call on their help kind of thing. And so it's just something that I'm really big on, is making sure that we're respecting those that are serving us. But again, it has to be shown that example, because if not, it goes back to kind of what we mentioned towards the beginning, right? Our kids become entitled or socially withdrawn, and they fall into these patterns of, oh, well, my friend said the police are bad, so I think the police are bad because I was never taught otherwise, kind of thing, kind of wrapping all those things back together. And that's how it all comes about, because they never learned from you, the parent, oh, they're not bad, or we should respect them, or there's nothing wrong here. So.
Yeah, leading by example is very powerful, and also explaining to children. One of the things I teach them is awareness. Awareness gives you clarity, clarity gives you focus, focus gives you action, action gives you results, results gives you momentum, which gives you everything. So I teach them, look, what do you see? What do you notice? Why do you think that person is doing that? Why do you think this is happening? Why do you think that's happening? By letting them think it out and you making suggestions, or you giving them, say, look, if you don't know, how could you find out? And I always have this saying, there's always a way. Whatever happens in a family, there's always a way. There's always a way. So it's ingrained in them, and it becomes very automatic. There's always a way. There's always a way.
Yeah, no, because there really is always a way. You just have to be open enough and patient enough to find it, or try some ways that don't work until you find a way that does work. I think that's really important. So, okay. So kind of looking at things today, how long have you been doing the work that you're doing now?
Oh, it's 28 years now.
Wow, that's cool.
I'm old.
No, that's really cool. So you no longer practice optometry, or
No, I gave that up 23 years ago.
wow,
My daughter became an optometrist. The lineage still
so it
continues.
continues. So at least your eyes are covered, right? You don't got to worry about finding a new doctor for that. So
Hopefully.
that's really cool. So what do things look like for you now? What does a love-centered life look like for you now?
The secret to living is giving. So I'm going on these podcasts. I probably do one or two a day, because you never know what other people are going through. By me sharing my gifts, my knowledge, it will impact someone's life. That's what we're here for. It's not about us, it's about the difference we make. Once you realize there's greatness inside of you, let that greatness come out, and you'll be amazed at the difference that you can make. You can change the world, but it's, one starfish at a time, one person at a time.
True. And that's only way you can do it, right? You got to start small. You start small and then you grow from there and go. One thing that you briefly mentioned, and I wanted to talk about it a little bit because I feel like it's important for us to talk about as men, is you mentioned that there was some suicide that you had in your past and in your story. Can you share a little bit about that? Just because I feel like that's important to talk about.
Yeah, so I felt I wasn't good enough. I wasn't smart. I was stupid. I'm a failure.
Does this
Life
go
would be
back to the
better
oh
without
08,
me.
the oh 08
Yeah,
financial? Okay.
this is November 2008. It was just a terrible experience. I would, you've heard of people beating themselves up, haven't you,
Hmm.
Jay? I would do it physically. I would punch myself, hit myself with spoons, large spoons, ladles, belts, in places where my wife couldn't see me. So I would never undress in front of her, because she would see all the bruising. Because I thought I deserved to be beaten up. I deserved to be punished. But ladies and gentlemen, we don't. We don't need to beat ourselves up. All we have to do is make better decisions. All we have to do is step into courage. When you step into courage, the fear will disappear. And what we have to do, and this will change your life, is to be the light. If you are the light, the darkness will disappear. Ask yourself, what am I here for? What is my greatness? Who loves me? Even before you were born, you were loved. When you were born, you were loved even more. Never forget people love you.
Yeah, absolutely. So how did you work through it though? How did you get through it? Was there, and this may be digging pretty deep into it, but did you attempt it all, or
No, Jay. I thought if I tried to commit suicide, I would mess that up too. I wouldn't get it right. I'd you know, how could I possibly do it right? I'd end up maiming myself, and you know, um, and the thought comes through your mind, but it takes courage to do it. And honestly, I'm a coward. I don't like pain. I remember looking over a balcony, and I thought, that's 12 foot. If I jumped, yeah, I need something longer and wider. Then I thought, oh, if I did that, it's going to make a mess, and then my wife would see it. She'd have to clean it up. Even today, I can't go out on a hotel balcony if it's high up. I just can't. I get very queasy. But the secret is this: start giving, start serving other people. In the moment you give, all your pain and suffering disappears. And be grateful for what you have. At the moment, I've got one good hand and one bad hand. It's got 9 fractures in it, and it's got steel plates and pins. And I remember when I broke it, I dislocated. I looked at my hand, it was a total mess, Jay. And I thought, this is not good. And I was upset for 10 seconds. Then I was filled with gratitude. Do you know why?
No.
It was my left hand. My right hand is my pickleball hand. So, it's a muscle. Once you find gratitude in anything, you'll start to experience a new dimension.
I love that. It's my pickleball hand. But no, it's true. There always is opportunities for that gratitude, right? And it's also very healing at the same time. Like you could have like I'm really curious like how you broke it and whatnot, but that's besides the point. But it's so important, right? Even when we fracture our hand and we know, oh no, this is bad. We can take that and do a couple things with it, right? We can go one of two ways. We can do like you did and look at it and be like, well, this sucks, but at least it's not my pickleball hand, and so we're good. Or you can take it and let that like totally like crash your whole reality, right? Like, oh, broke my hand, I'm not going to be able to do this, I'm not going to be able to do this or this or this or this or this or this or this. And I think it's important to realize, well, this sucks, it did happen, but I still can do almost everything. I just have to do it with one hand and maybe do some things a little bit slower and less efficient. So instead of taking all the groceries in at once, now I have to take 2 grocery trips or carry less bags, or I have to ask for help kind of thing. Or I'm having difficulty doing, these things and I need to ask for help, or I need to find a different solution kind of thing. And you just have to get creative and kind of think about it versus, letting it tear down your whole world and your whole reality, which I think is very easy to do. It's very easy to do.
It is, and you made a very good point. What it made me do is slow down. There's things that I was doing that I didn't need to do. There were distractions. And one thing, men, the listeners, if you're a man, it's okay to ask for help. It's not a sign of weakness. I didn't. I was trying to do everything myself. Jay, my wife puts toothpaste on my toothbrush every morning and every evening because it's hard for me to do it with one hand. Every time I look at that, I thought, oh, wow, so beautiful.
Yeah, that's
It's
just
okay to ask for help. In fact, it's not okay. You must ask for help because it makes you stronger.
yeah. And guess what? When you ask for help, especially from like your spouse, like they don't mind doing it, because they understand like, okay, you have a broken wrist and you can't use a hand, and that's difficult kind of thing. Like if I can help make your life a little bit easier in some way, shape, or form, let me do it. It's not a big deal. It's okay. Granted, they may not want to wipe your ass, but they can still do other things that can help you out and to be there for you and to be supportive while you're trying to heal and recover and get through it. And like you said, it is okay to ask for help. It's needed to ask for help because you can't do it all on your own. You just can't.
Yeah. And, my wife said to me, it's a pleasure looking after you. She gets to spend a lot more time with me, because I'm there 24/7. There's many things. I'm amazed. This is another thing that, we can share the power of team. I've got this bottle here. I can't open it by myself. I had to ask my wife to open up the bottles, and the ability of one hand compared to 2 hands is exponentially reduced. So this is akin to asking for help, having your partner help you, having a teammate help you, asking for other people to help you. The results you'll get are exponentially increased. So there was a lesson in that too.
Yeah. And it goes back to the old adage, many hands make light work. If you need help and you gotta make it easier, you gotta do what you gotta do. It's okay, right? It's hard to move a whole house with 2 people. But when it becomes 3 or 4 or 5 people, wow, things go a lot faster and a lot quicker. And if you're trying to clean your house and it's just you cleaning top to bottom, but then when other people get involved, it's like, wow, this is a lot easier. It's a lot quicker kind of thing. And it's okay to know that. It's okay to ask for help. And it, like you're mentioning, it is exponentially just so much bigger when you are a team and you're a united front to move forward through things because you can't do it all on your own. And that's just the reality.
And also, it's a lot more fun
Yeah.
when you've got other people helping you. It doesn't become painful. It's just an enjoyable process, and all of a sudden, the time disappears.
Yeah, absolutely. Time flies when you're having fun, right? Just like this podcast, time has been flying. Is there anything else that you wanted to mention from our conversation today? Any points that we didn't hit on that you want to hit on a little bit more?
So I would encourage everyone just to do this one thing. Be so amazing you cannot be ignored. And if you are ignored, it doesn't matter because how you show up will be this magnificent soul. Show up the best version of you. Ask yourself, how could I be a better father? How could I be a better son? How could I be a better spouse? How could I be a better brother? And when you ask these great questions, you'll get great answers and then step into your greatness.
Yeah. And I think it's important to ask for those things and be open to receiving the feedback, right? Because you'll get the feedback, you'll get the answers, and you may not like them, or maybe you'll get the same answer all over the place. And lucky you, you only got one or two things to work on. But just be ready. The more people you ask, the more feedback you're going to get, and the more changes you're going to make. But those are all for the better because it is important to be the best version of yourself. It is important to be the best, husband, father, uncle, cousin, brother, son that you can be and do the things that you know you're meant to do. And I think it's important because when you, like you said, Anil, when you're the most amazing you can't be ignored. And when you bring that energy, you're gonna literally light up the room. So cool. Well, Anil, this has been great. Let's work on closing this thing out. The next part of the podcast is entering into the dad zone. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
So the dad zone is designed to just kind of be a lighthearted end of the show here, and to get us closed on a nice foot. Some people say it's their favorite part of the show. Others say it's the only part that they listen to and they skip the whole conversation, which I encourage you don't do that. Go back and listen to the last 40 plus minutes. It's been a great conversation. And I did the intros better. The intros are way better now too, like people asked for. So people said you should work on the intros. They should be more hooky and you should have a more consistent intro. So there you go. I gave it to you, people. But the Dad Zone is the staple of the Young Dad podcast. It's been around for 200 something episodes now. So first question in the Dad Zone: does pineapple go on pizza?
Absolutely.
Whoa, hot take. No, that's just been it's a controversial point of the podcast here. Who are three people, dead or alive, that you would invite over for a dinner party?
That would be Mahatma Gandhi. I
I knew
would.
Gandhi was going to be there for you.
You did?
Yeah, I'm like, he's gonna say Gandhi because you mentioned him a couple times.
I would probably invite George Washington
Interesting.
and Nikola Tesla, and actually four people. Da Vinci, I would invite him.
That's a huh. Da Vinci, Nikola Tesla, George Washington, and Gandhi. Huh. Interesting. I
It'd be
like
a great party.
it. Would. You would learn a lot. I think George Washington would probably be the comedic relief in that party of all people. What is your guilty pleasure food?
I can't answer that. I have many. Ice cream,
I love it.
more ice cream, candy, British candy, English candy.
So sweet.
Yeah, yeah. I
Thank
have a
you.
sweet tooth. Yeah.
Last question here in the dad zone. What's one piece of advice that you would offer to a young dad, age 18 to 22, that's just starting out his fatherhood journey?
Make your partner your number one priority. Make sure that she feels loved because it's a lot for her to take on. Ask her this question, honey, what can I do to make you feel more loved? What else can I do? What else can I do? What else can I do? And just do those things. Having a great partner will allow you to be the greatest version of yourself.
Absolutely. I love it. Well, Anil, that's the end of the dad zone here. Just to wrap us up here, I started doing this the last episode, so we're going to keep it going. Is the CTRA, our clear takeaway, reflection, and action for the listener for this week. So the takeaway from this that I really want you guys to take away is the greatest act of love you can give your family is healing yourself. The reflection for you: what part of your life still needs forgiveness? From others or from yourself? Think about that. What part of your life still needs forgiveness? Is it from others or is it from yourself? And then your action that I want you to take is tonight write one sentence of gratitude for someone you've struggled with. You don't need to send it, just start the process of releasing. So that's your CTRA. Again, the greatest act of love you can give your family is healing yourself. Your reflection that I want you just to sit with for a little bit. What part of your life still needs forgiveness? Is it forgiveness from others, or is it really forgiveness for yourself? And then when you're done listening to this, it can be tonight, it can be in the morning, afternoon, whatever time of day it is. Write one sentence of gratitude for someone you've struggled with, so someone that you have some of those ill feelings towards. You don't have to send it. It's amazing if you do, but just start the process of releasing and see how you feel. And then with that, Anil, where can people better connect with you and follow you and view more of your work?
The best place, Jay, is my website, meetanil.com. You'll get a lot of free resources there. You can download my book for free. Great content. I'm also available on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and I'm sure the show notes will give those links.
Yep, we'll put those all in the show notes. Well, Anil, a huge thank you to you for joining us. I'm here on the show and reminding us
Thank
that
you.
forgiveness, gratitude, and self-love aren't soft. They're the strongest foundations any dad can build on. If this episode spoke to you, listeners, share it with another father who might be struggling. And if you did do that as well, if you share it, well, make sure you also hit subscribe and leave us a review. It does really help the show. And until next time, I hope you enjoyed your juice box. I hope that snack was delicious. Make sure you throw away your trash so the wife doesn't yell at you, and keep showing up, dads. Until next time, right here on the Young Dad Podcast.